Hi everybody, I'm Natalie Redding of Namaste Farms Wool Products, and I want to thank you for shopping at the Woolery. I'm going to talk to you about our two products, the Wash and Dye Bastard and Dirty Rotten Bastard, and how they work, and I'm going to show you. All of our products are made in the USA and they're cosmetic grade, so they're very, very safe. Wash and Dye Bastard is one of my favorite products, and it's because it can make things come out beautifully like this. This was a super dirty fleece, and the dyeing's amazing because the wash and dye helps the dyes to take a hold better, and especially you'll notice it on your reds or anything that's a combination of a red like a purple. A lot of people think that wash and dye is only for dyed items, but it's really not. I use it as a finishing shampoo on anything. My girlfriend actually used it on her Ugg boots to make them clean and bright again, and I use it on Scrappy, my little rescue dog. One of the things that I will use it on besides those things is that knitted items, anything that's hand washed, or when I fold my yarn. I don't really think that there's any time that I don't use it if I'm going to be washing fiber. Even if it's a fiber that I'm not going to dye, I will use it after I will wash it. If it's a fine wool with the Dirty Rotten Bastard, I'll use wash and dye afterwards, and it just makes the handle really nice. One of the things that's great about our shampoos is that you no longer have to use super, super hot water, especially if you're using it on low oil fibers like alpaca, non-greasy mohair, or any of the long wools. If I have something that's particularly dirty or that is super, super oily, then you usually should probably use maybe a little hotter water, and then you're going to have to use a Dirty Rotten Bastard beforehand. Dirty Rotten Bastard isn't a conditioning shampoo, it's what we call a clarifying shampoo, so it's absolutely for scouring, and so it's best to be used rather than using wash and dye alone on a high oil fiber. The methods that we use for our products are different than you're probably used to, and it's gonna probably break some of the doctrines that you've heard or that you yourself follow, and that is that you actually can touch your fiber with shampoo on your hands and massage it in, and your fibers won't felt. If you're a felter, you know that it actually takes a lot of energy to felt something, and we don't say that about our hair, right? I have really long hair, and when I put shampoo on, I scrub it in, and my hair doesn't felt. Well, because I don't have changes of temperature, and I'm not using an extraordinary amount of energy, and I'm not, rubbing my hair together trying to felt it. So, when you use these products, I'm going to take this one for example. Here is some long locks, and these are the same locks that have been washed and then separated. And they came out, honestly, the handle, if you touch them, they're extremely soft, and as most people know, that long wools are usually very, very coarse. So what I do is I will put, this is, just for example, I'm showing a small amount, but I do, especially if it's a long wool, I can do like 2 or 3 pounds at a time. If it's a fine wool and it's super oily, obviously, you want to make sure that you get really good coverage, so you do less at a time. Also, fine wools, because they have more scales, they will felt easier, so you have to be aware of that. On this one, if I'm using wash and dye, which is what I would use since it's a long wool and it's a low oil fiber, I will put it on, and I'm pretty generous, and exactly like I would do my hair. I squeeze it in and I let it sit. And what I want to talk about is some people have, it's really hard for them to think that you can do this because so many people for so long will put, big vats of water and then they soak their fleeces in it. And when you think about that, you would never wash your hair like that, right? Because we wouldn't think that it would actually get it clean. I wouldn't even I wouldn't put a bathtub full of water and then put my dog in there with a little bit of shampoo because it's diluting the product. And so that's one of the things that is great for us in California, is that using the product does save on water, and it's just more time efficient. So after I let this sit for about 10 minutes or so, depending on how dirty it is, if I'm satisfied that if it's not filthy and it doesn't have a ton of oil on it, then I will I put it in the dye pot, just like that. And then whatever you're doing, whether it's high immersion or low immersion, you put your water in it, you put your citric acid or your vinegar in it, and goes in the stove, and I put my dyes in. So obviously this takes out a lot of the steps. One of the things that I started realizing when I was using the product is because it doesn't interact poorly with with acid and with water, different kinds of water, whether it's extremely acidic or an alkaline water, and that can happen with something like Dawn. And Dawn is not made, even though I myself used to use it, it is not made for fibers, and I honestly couldn't believe the difference in my fibers once we brought out our products. They truly do work, and it's, with Dawn you could never do that. You'd get these little precipitates, these little crystals if you have a certain kind of water and it interacts with the vinegar if you don't rinse it all off. And so that's the other thing. It's hard for people to believe that you could really cut out all of those steps. So the question is, well, when do you wash it? Well, I wash it literally, the fiber, when I'm getting the residual dye off, and that's when you should anyway, because every single thing that you dye, you want to make sure it's color fast, and the way to release the dye is with a detergent, and with us it's our shampoo and hot water. That's the only way to get rid of the residual dye, and that is when this becomes squeaky clean. You'll notice at the bottom of the pot when you do that how much sludge comes off, and especially because I do broker thousands and thousands of pounds a year of fleece from the UK where they're not coated, and it's amazing how much dirt comes off in the bottom of my dye pot with so much residual dye that it's shocking. The other thing that you'll notice when you use wash and dye is that while you'll have a lot of residual dye run off, it's so much easier for your water to run clear when you're rinsing. So it helps them become color fast, and I love that about the product. Okay, so moving on to Dirty Rotten Bastard. As I said, Dirty Rotten Bastard is a clarifying shampoo, which means that it's really for scouring. I don't know that there's any time that I ever use it by itself. I will use it to get the oil or the dirt off, but then, as I said before, I will always finish with wash and dye. If I have a higher oil fiber, I will use hotter water because obviously I want I want it to emulsify. I want this oil to be able to be penetrated by the shampoo. If you have a really oily fiber, as I said before, you are going to want to not wash as much at once. So I will take the tape and I will massage it in. And yes, you can do this without felting it. I'm not purposefully trying to felt it. So I'm not sitting here doing this. I'm squeezing it in just like I would my own hair. I will put it on. And the same as I said about the wash and dye, I will just let it sit in the colander. Occasionally, there will be times that I might soak my fleeces, and that's if they have an amazing amount of vegetation in them, and then those are, that's a completely different method. There's nothing that any shampoo can do for vegetation, and it's very difficult to get out true staining. So if something's truly stained, there's no shampoo that'll take it out. There's other tricks that we have in the trade, but scrubbing and scouring and etc. is never going to take out like the really, really dark yellow staining from urine or what have you, and it's never going to get out vegetation. So, as I said, I'll let it sit, and for 10 minutes or so. If I feel that it is not done, and that meaning that it's not viscous, and that the shampoo hasn't done its job, because the oil's so thick, then you can repeat. But no matter what, before it goes into the dye pot, or before I'm going to dry it, if I'm going to keep it white, I'm going to put wash and dye on it, because it just makes the handle so nice on everything. Just like that. And as I said, I not only broker thousands of pounds a year, but I wash and I dye thousands of pounds of fiber a year. And honestly, the products, they work amazing. If you have any questions, you can contact either the Woolery at info@woolery.com, or you can contact me at info@woolshampoo.com. Thank you so much, and thank you for shopping at the Woolery.